And welcome, sports fans, to today's roundtable. Glad you joined us for today as we are heading to the end of the fall sports season. High school football is starting to wrap up its regular season here in the next week, and a couple more weeks for Arkansas, down in Arkansas. And also volleyball starting to take shape in its end of the season, getting into some conference championships over here the last few nights, which we'll get to in a moment. And even high school softball starting to wrap up their season into district and state tournament play. And we'll take a look at all those fall sports that are starting to wrap up here in just a moment. But coming down to the end of the year here, be sure to tune in to the Sports Roundtable each Saturday mornings. And you watch online on YouTube, even our website at yhctv.com, and Facebook Live, as we're going to wrap up the week each Saturday here for the Sports Roundtable. And quite a bit to get to from last night. Last night we had our TriCast. Didn't necessarily pull it off fully, but we had Park Hill Central and Dexter. Did have a little trouble with the telecast last night going down, but good game there in Dexter here between Dexter and Park Hills. Also down in Malden and Kennett, we had some network trouble again down in Kennett. We've had the toughest time down in Kennett down there this year, but that's what took place down in Kennett over the weekend, or Friday, and we did bring you the Hoxie and Piggott game from from last night, Friday night, down in Piggott. So not all that bad last night, but just had a few difficulties in bringing you all three games at once. But we'll have them all to replay over the weekend. We'll talk more about that here momentarily. But let's take a look at some high school football from last night, starting off with the Dexter Bearcats getting a big victory over Park Hill Central on senior night for the Bearcats, and Dexter pulled out that win 13-7 in a close one. Defensive battle, as there were some wet conditions last night, but Dexter pulled it out in the end over Park Hill Central 13-7, and we'll talk more about that in our next segment. And also another game that we were at last night, Kennett over Malden, big 49-0, no problem for the Kennett Indians rolling over the Malden Green Wave. So we'll talk more about the Kennett Indians coming up, but another decisive victory for the Kennett Indians last night. Also, Sykeston over New Madrid County Central, 20-8. Scott City over Kelly, 20-13. Hayti over Crothersville, battle Pemiscot County down there, 32-6. The Hayti Indians victorious over the Crothersville Tigers. Charleston over East Prairie in the battle of Mississippi County, 49-20. Jackson over Hillsboro in a shutout, 56-0. The Jackson Indians roll once again last night over the Hillsboro Hawks. Lutheran North over Farmington, big 56-27. Cape Central over Desmet. Desmet out of St. Louis in a shutout, 63-0. Big victory for Cape Central last night. Chaminade over Poplar Bluff, 34-13. Piggott over Hoxie down in Northeast Arkansas. Big win for the Piggott Mohawks, 42-35. The Piggott Mohawks over the Hoxie Mustangs. And Piggott getting a pivotal 3A3 victory last night at Parker Field in Piggott. And also down in Northeast Arkansas, Rector getting another victory, 30-8 over Cross County. And I think that's Rector's third victory of the year. They've had a run of winless seasons here of late, the last few years, but getting 3 victories on the board so far this year for the Rector Cougars. And moving on, take a look at some volleyball action from the last few nights. Back to Thursday night in the Boot Hill Conference Championship match. It was Campbell defeating Malden in 2 straight sets to win this year's Boot Hill Conference Tournament Championship. The Campbell Camels winning the volleyball tournament for the Boot Hill Conference. So congratulations to the Campbell volleyball team on a fine season. They'll be getting ready for district play here soon. So Campbell carrying some momentum into district play. And also last night in the Stoddard County Activity Association Tournament Championship, it was top-seeded Advance over Dexter in 3 sets. Advance, very good team this year in the Stoddard County, and they defeated Dexter in the championship match in 3 sets. And take a look at the semifinal matches of that conference tournament. Advance defeating Bloomfield in 2 straight sets in the semifinal. And Dexter defeating third-seeded Bernie in 3 sets to advance on to that championship match. So Advance come away with the Stoddard County Tournament Championship this season. And Advance having a great year, especially among the small schools here in southeast Missouri. And another volleyball action last night, Friday night, Saxony Lutheran over Oran, 2 sets to none. And in high school softball, district championship from yesterday, East Carter County defeating Twin Rivers in the Class 2 District 1 championship game 4-3. So East Carter County will advance on, and they will take on Kelly, who defeated West County. Kelly defeated West County in the Class 2 District 2 championship game, so East Carter will face off with Kelly in that Class 2 sectional later on this next week. So softball is getting into exciting time as well, heading into state tournament play in high school softball. And take a look at our TriCast from last night. We tried to bring 3 games to you live on our website at yhctv.com. We just had a little hiccups with Dexter with the telecast going down in the 4th quarter. And down at Kennett, had trouble with the network down there, not able to bring that live, but we'll have it to replay. And also down in Piggott, we were able to bring that one live on our website at Piggott last night. So just a little hiccup last night, but not all that bad, as we'll bring it to you in replay this weekend. Park Hill Central versus Dexter. That game last night will replay today, Saturday at noon, also at 6 p.m. later on tonight, and then Sunday at 4. Those are the games, or the replays for the weekend. Park Hill Central versus Dexter, and you can watch the replay right here on YHC for the weekend, and we'll have it uploaded, full game uploaded this weekend on our website at yhctv.com as well. So be sure to catch that replay over the weekend. Also, the Malden and Kennett game will replay Sunday at 2, and also Sunday at 2 p.m. in the afternoon, 10 p.m. in the evening, and Monday at 10 a.m. The Malden versus Kennett broadcast last night. We'll replay this weekend. We'll also get that uploaded to our website at yhctv.com later on today, here on Saturday. And the Hoxie and Piggott game. Hoxie and Piggott will replay Sunday at 7 p.m. and Monday at 6:30 p.m. So those are the 2 replay times. Sunday at 7 p.m., Monday at 6:30 p.m. Hoxie versus Piggott. And a great game, 42-35 game with Piggott coming out on top. You can watch that replay this weekend, and we'll have that uploaded to yhctv.com probably late Saturday evening. So look forward to that broadcast replay of Hoxie and Piggott, probably the game of the week for us here on YHC. So look forward to that as well over the weekend. And we're going to take a break, and we're going to come back. We're going to talk about the storylines from last night in high school football in the area, and also the district tournament standings. The district standings heading into district tournament play in a couple weeks. We only got 1 week left in high school football for Missouri, and we'll be entering into the district tournaments in a couple of weeks, and we're going to give you the updated district standings after last night, heading into the last week of the regular season. And when we as we come back with that in our next segment, over this break, we're going to show you a segment we did with the Malden Greenway Vets, and Malden's hosting Dexter this next week, and after the football game, they're having a fundraiser for the Wounded Warrior Project. And we talked with Mitch Green, Mark Pickard, and others about the fundraiser after the Malden and Dexter football game next Friday night. And we're going to touch on that over our break. So we'll be back with more coming up.
And we're out at the Malden football field, out at the swamp, and here with some guys here, some Malden vets we've got here. We've got Denton Coyman, Wayne Shelton, Jimmy DeBerry, Mark Pickard, and Mitch Green, talking about the event coming up later in October. Big event here at the swamp coming up in mid-October. And Mitch, what have we got coming up here in mid-October?
So October 19th, immediately after the Malden-Dexter football game, we're having a 5K run-walk event for the Wounded Warrior Project. It's called the Virtual 5K, and it's a fundraiser for the Wounded Warrior Project.
All right, so a big event right after the Dexter game. So got a pretty local opponent just up the road. So surely trying to get some of those people that'll be coming down from Dexter to get involved as well.
That's what we're hoping. Again, since we're doing it after the game and the Dexter fans will be here already, we're hoping that we can get some Dexter people involved. All you have to do is go to the Wounded Warrior Project website. Of course, Google it. You can find the sign up for the 5K and sign up as an individual or a team. And then as you sign up, a website is created for you. And your donations that you get generated can all be done to the website. You don't have to handle any money if you don't want to. If you sign up far enough in advance, the Wounded Warrior Project sends you a runner's bib for the event, a participation T-shirt, and I believe a medal that you can, I guess, present to yourself once you get the event done that night.
Sure. And the Wounded Warrior Project, that's been an organization that's done a lot of good for a good number of years now. And they put a lot of money towards helping vets and various needs. So maybe talk about what they are as an organization.
So they really got started after 9/11, which I guess is a apropos time now. But they do a lot of things that the veterans maybe can't get as timely with the VA. They're not trying to take the VA or the place of the VA, obviously. But they do a lot of mental health, and they help counsel and give support to caregivers, which a lot of family members become for a wounded veteran. So they do job training, interview skills, lots of things veterans need as they get out of the service.
Okay, and we've got one team here already, the Greenway Vets. So got a team already set here. So talk about your team and the way other people can get involved with their own team as well.
Yeah, so our team, see who's behind me, Denton was in the Navy, Wayne Air Force, Jimmy, Mark, and myself all in the Army. I saw that the 5K was happening again this year and just kind of threw the idea out to these guys, and they all said, sounds great. And then as we've been out talking to people, we're getting responses back to people that maybe would donate, have decided to help and come participate as well. So we're hoping that we can get a good crowd out here that night of the ball game. We're going to have music playing, of course, and hopefully just have a good turnout and a good time.
Sure. And Mark's going to talk a little bit more about what people can expect that night.
All right, well, the night of the 5K, what we're going to do is we're going to come out here. It's right after the game. It's going to be just as soon as the game's over with, we'll leave the lights on, we'll get some music going, and everybody's going to suit up for it, and then we're just going to get ready to do our 5K. You can run the 5K, we can walk the 5K, whatever you want to do. I think most of us, we're going to try to stay together as a team. We have the options of either carrying weight up to 100 pounds if you want. You can carry flags, which we will have both the U.S. flag, the Malden Guidon, as well as the Wounded Warrior Guidon that we're going to be carrying. So we've got a lot to carry with us. Or we could carry each other, which is probably not going to happen, but we could do it if we wanted. But we're looking at, teamwork in this case. And so we're going to stay together as we do the entire 5K. And then as the entire thing's going on, we're going to be able to have an auction in order for people to try to raise a little bit of money. We've got a few items that they can auction off. Going to have a raffle for a piece of the old Malden gym floor. And so any of you Maldenites would like to come out and get that gym floor, please get ready to do that raffle if you can. This is all just to raise money in order to help Wounded Warrior out. And so that's the reason that we're doing it. We do have some people lined up. We're going to be taking some pictures and just trying to have a good atmosphere here. And we're looking at have as many groups as possible who can come out and participate. This is not helping Malden. This is not helping Dexter, any towns whatsoever. This is here just to help the vets who desperately need the help. And so that's why we're doing all this.
So there you have it. Big night coming up October 19th. And Mitch, great community event so people can come on out and enjoy a nice, cool October night out here at the Swamp. And it's for the greater area around Malden. As Mark said, it's for the vets, not necessarily for any town or any community itself. So pretty fun night set up here on the 19th.
Yeah, we really hope to have a good crowd. And again, it is for the Wounded Warrior Project. You can just go to their website and click on the virtual 5K or the Carry Forward Project, and you can. It's really easy to pick through the site and get signed up. And again, we'll start pretty quickly after the football game that night. And unless something changes, I guess rain or shine, we're going to do it, and hopefully have a good crowd, a good turnout. We've talked to some of the area schools to possibly get some teams from teachers and students. A couple of businesses in town have already said that they would get a team together. So if we can just keep this growing, the more the merrier.
All right, be looking forward to that. Come on out October 19th out here at the Swamp, the Malden football field. It's right after the football game, Dexter versus Malden that night. So be around 9:30 or so once that gets started. So be a good community event to get involved in for the great cause for all the veterans in need. and we'll be looking forward to it. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
And as you saw there, a nice event taking place at the Malden and Dexter at Malden football game next Friday night, the 19th. And the Green Wave Vets there, along with others, going to be putting together teams. And you still put together a team if you'd like for Friday night. Raise a little bit of money for the Wounded Warrior Project for next Friday night after that Dexter Malden football game. And just a nice community event to get involved with and raise it for a good cause for the wounded vets as well. So look forward to that next Friday night down at the Swamp in Malden. And take a look at some storylines from last night in the area. Dexter securing a big district win against Park Hills Central. And it's been some time, maybe going back to about probably 2010 since Dexter defeated Park Hills last, so it's been about 8 years now, if I have that correctly, and I think I do, since Dexter defeated Park Hills. A sloppy game early on, as much of the games in the area with the rain coming through, but we only had about a first half of play that was really wet with the rain, but not a lot going on in the first half. 7-7 score at half, and only ended up being 13-7 victory for Dexter, but both teams really didn't do much in the air, kept it on the ground, just moving the sticks, and Dexter really come up with a big special teams play. Mason Keena, he's been the man on special teams for the Dexter Bearcats this year, coming up with a block punt, and Dexter secured the block punt inside, I think, the 10 or 15 yard line, and then took it in for a touchdown by Hayden Hillis, who ran it in at quarterback. Ran in to give them the lead in the second half that they hung on to for the remainder of the game. And that was a turning point of the game there, the difference of the game, being able to punch in that block kick for the Bearcats. And the Bearcats get a 13-7 victory. They will move on to take on the Malden Green Wave in the regular season finale next week at the Swamp in Malden. And Dexter, a good chance to win that game, as Malden having a struggling year. After having one of the best runs we've seen, certainly out of the Boot Hill in high school football. Dexter will have a chance to knock off Malden on the road next week to actually get to 400 for the season. They currently stand at 3-4, and with a victory next week, we'll put them at 4-4 to finish the year at 500. So Dexter, young team, or a team that has really struggled with injuries over the last 2 or 3 weeks. Especially Hayden Hillis, he's been out since the first week of the season. Got some time last week and then started at quarterback last night. Made some big plays for the Bearcats to move on to that victory. So they're starting to heal up. Actually, they had Ernesto Rivera, receiver and I think defensive back for the Bearcats, playing his first game of the year. He's been out for the whole year. He's been a key contributor going back to last year. Just getting his first snaps last night, and I actually caught the touchdown pass to get one of the scores for the Bearcats last night. So starting to get more healthy are the Bearcats, and they certainly need to be going into district play here in a few weeks. But a good chance for Dexter get a win on the road against Malden to end the regular season at 500. And moving on to Kennett, and Kennett routs Malden 49-0 in that victory, and they win the Delta Bowl, that Duplin County Championship, the Delta Bowl between Kennett and Malden. And it's been quite some time since Kennett won that thing. I think it goes back to 2009 since they've won that Delta Bowl against Malden. As I said, the last storyline there is Malden's had one of the best runs we've seen over the last 5 years, and even before that, the 4 years preceding that. The 4 years preceding that, Malden's defeated Kennett. So now, that's Joel Wyatt, coach of the Kennett Indians. He was there at Malden for all that run there at Malden the last, 5 years that he's been there, and going to Kennett now, and Kennett's now making their run. So Joel Wyatt's had a good run of success here in the last handful plus years, and really continuing that in Kennett as they are undefeated in Missouri. Kennett is. They go to 7-1 on the year, and their only loss coming to Gosnell out of Northeast Arkansas. So it's been a great run for the Kennett Indians so far this year, and they've been dominating and got a dominant victory. They're up 35-0 at half, 49-0 for the final score, and Kennett moves on. And we'll talk more about them in the district standings, as Kennett's looking really good in the district and he got a chance to do something special this year in high school football. And in other games, Piggott getting a big 3A3 conference victory, Northeast Arkansas last night over Hoxie. And that was a 42-35 for the Piggott Mohawks in a much-needed conference win. They suffered their first conference loss last week in a heartbreaker to Walnut Ridge on the road. That was 35-34. Now Piggott gets that victory last night over Hoxie. That's always a big matchup in the conference and a tough team to beat. As last year it was a kind of a similar game to last year. I think it was a 50-something to 30-something score last year. High scoring affair once again this year, 42-35. And Piggott coming out on top on this one this year at Parker Field last night. Again, we'll have that replaying Sunday at 7. Sunday at 7 here on YHC for that Piggott and Hoxie broadcast replay. So Piggott with a big win last night. And they got some big games coming up. Hoxie are actually going back to last week, Walnut Ridge, Hoxie. Now next week they go on the road to Osceola. That'll be a tough one as well. These this 3A3 conference is very competitive, and they'll have a tough one on the road against Osceola, but it'll be fun to see how that plays out. As the 3A3 is always fun to keep track of and watch, as very competitive football games week in and week out. So big win for Piggott. You got to carry that momentum into next week against Osceola. And the next week they'll have Newport. After Osceola, they'll have Newport. I think that one's at home, which we'll bring in a couple weeks as well. So big game still ahead for the Mohawks. And big one last night. Secured that one last night over Hoxie. And they will take on Osceola next week down in Osceola to take on the Seminoles. So good luck to the Mohawks next week. And another big 3A3 conference game. And also from last night, Jackson remains undefeated. They go to 8-0 on the year. They got a big victory over Hillsboro. I think that was 56-0 over the Hillsboro Hawks at the pit in Jackson, and put up over 500 yards, 506 yards of offense against Hillsboro last night. And these two studs they've got, quarterback Kel Welker was 11 of 13 for 210 yards. He's had a great year, Kel Welker has, and receiver Jordan Kent had 8 receptions for 180 yards. He's been a big contributor for the Jackson Indians as well. Those two guys have linked up all year long, putting up big numbers for the Jackson Indians. Undefeated 8-0, and we'll talk more about them as we get into the district standings and even to the state rankings, as Jackson has put together a phenomenal year up there at the pit in Jackson. So good luck to Jackson going forward. They've had a great run and undefeated at 8-0. Big win over the Hillsboro Hawks, over 500 yards of offense last night. And also taking a look at the Hayti Indians. Equally impressive are the Hayti Indians here in the Boot Hill, and they go to 8-0 as well last night, remaining undefeated against Crothersville, which will likely be one of their toughest opponents on their schedule this year. And they handled them, I think it was 32-6. No problem for the Hayti Indians last night against Crothersville in that Pemiscot County battle. And they have now reached number 1 in the state rankings in Class 1. I think they were at number 3 last week. And coming into this week, week 8, they are number 1 in the state in Class 1. And I thought it was well-deserved. I think one of the top teams suffered a loss. I knew Hayti would have a chance before the season ended, have a chance at that number 1 ranking. And the way they've just rolled through their opponents, and a lot of the opponents they play are up in class. So you can't play a Class 1 schedule here in southeast Missouri. There's just a few teams that they'll play in Class 1. I think Thayer was one of those teams in Class 1. Not many. Scott City, I believe, is in Class 1. And I think Portageville's in Class 1, which they'll have next week. So only about 3 teams out of their schedule is Class 1, the classification they're in. They're playing Class 2. They're playing Malden, Crothersville, Charleston, Nevada County Central. They're playing those teams that are up in class and just rolling through everybody. They've been pitching shutouts for pretty much the whole year. And Crothersville was able to get a touchdown on them last night. But Hayti, very impressive. Got a definite chance contending for a state championship this year for the state of Missouri. So look out for the Hayti Indians. We're actually going to have the Hayti Indians next week against Portageville. We'll talk about that more when we get into our broadcast schedule coming up. And take a look at those district standings for high school football after last night. These do reflect last night's games. Hayti, no surprise there, at 8-0 on the year, well in front for that number 1 seed. Valley Catholic, the only team that can probably give them a fit, but considering Crothersville handled Valley Catholic earlier in the year, Valley Catholic not having one of their dominant seasons as we typically expect out of Valley. So Hayti is going to be the runaway favorite. It'll take a big upset to even upset them in the district championship. But Valley Catholic at number 2 there. Scott City, number 3. 4, Brentwood. 5, St. Vincent. 6, Portageville. 7, Chaffee. And 8, Crystal City. So as it stands now, Hayti will take on Crystal City in the first round. Valley versus Chaffee. Scott City versus Portageville. And Brentwood versus St. Vincent. And the top 4 teams there would host those first round games. So there you go. That's what the district standings look like after last night. Only 1 week remaining in the regular season. So we'll see what happens. But I wouldn't expect a whole lot of change out of that, the way the points look heading into next week. Now take a look at Class 2 District 1. Jefferson out of Festus on top with a 7-1 record, just edging Charleston for that top seed. 48, just over 48 points to 47.5 points for Charleston. So you never know, depending on next week's games, Charleston might have a chance to get into that top seed in Class 2 District 1. We'll see what happens. St. Pius, the 10th out of Festus, they're at 7-1, just behind as well. They might have a chance to move up depending on next week. Crothersville on right there, right at close to 44 points as well, at a 6-2 record at the 4th spot. 5th, New Madrid County Central. 6th, Kelly. 7, Malden, and 8, East Prairie. So if those standings hold, you would have Jefferson versus East Prairie, Charleston and Malden, St. Pius and Kelly, and Crothersville and New Madrid. So we'll see what happens there. Chance that we might see some movement at the top of that as well. So we'll see what happens. In Class 3 District 1, Kennett on top at number 1. They'll definitely hold on to that with Sykeston. Playing up in class with Sykeston next week, so even with a loss, not going to really hurt them when it comes to the district standing. Kennett at number 1. 2, St. Genevieve. 3, Park Hill Central. 4, Potosi. 5, Perryville. 6, Dexter. 7, Fredericktown. And 8, Donovan. And Dexter getting a nice win over Park Hills last night. That's Dexter's at 6. Park Hills is at 3. But Park Hills still remains at that 3rd spot even with the loss. And Potosi at 4-4. The Dexter, they were really hoping for a hoping for them to bump up with Park Hills in the standings at least by the end of next week. That they would actually be able to jump Park Hills due to the head-to-head victory. If you actually bump up against each other in the rankings, say right next to each other, like 4 versus 5. That's the best thing for Dexter to hope for, is to get up to that 5 seed, and then Park Hills fall to the 4. Then they would flip. Dexter would take over the 4, then Park Hills take over the 5, where Dexter could actually host Park Hills in the first round of the districts. That's kind of the best scenario for Dexter. But even if they do remain in that 6th spot, they've played Park Hills well. They'd have to go up to Park Hills to play them in that first round game. So we would see what would happen with that one. But that's kind of the drama coming into the end of these seasons when it comes to the district standings. But Perryville's got a game today, this afternoon, against Portageville. They're having a Saturday afternoon game, Perryville and Portageville. So if Perryville were to lose to Portageville, that's a Class 3 school losing to a Class 1 school. So Perryville will be docked some points for that. So that might take them down below Dexter with that loss. I would certainly say that would probably happen. So Dexter would be able to move up to that 5 spot and potentially play Potosi in that first round next week. So we'll see what happens. A lot can happen over the next week, and even today with Perryville playing Portageville. So we'll see what happens there. And moving on to Class 4, West Plains on top, undefeated 8-0 at number 1. They'll certainly hold that, as Farmington's at number 2 at 5-3. 3 Festus, 4 North County, 5 Sykeston, 6 Hillsboro, 7 DeSoto, and 8 Cape Central. So at this point, Cape Central would be traveling to take on the undefeated West Plains in the first round, and Farmington would host DeSoto, and Sykeston would be on the road taking on North County up in Bonne Terre in the first round if those standings hold through next week. And in Class 5, Jackson on top at number 1. They do have some company, though, with Fox right behind them at 7-1. Segment at number 3, Poplar Bluff at number 4, and 5 Oakville. So with 5 teams, Jackson would have a first-round bye. They would take on the winner of let me try to get this right here. Jackson would take on the winner of Poplar Bluff and Oakville. Poplar Bluff and Oakville would be the matchup in the first round. Jackson would take on the winner of them, and then the other semifinal would be Fox versus Seckman in that 2-3 matchup. So Poplar Bluff would host Oakville in the first round. If those standings hold to next week, then Jackson would take on the winner of Poplar Bluff and Oakville, and then in that other semifinal, Fox hosting Seckman. So that's what it looks like in Class 5 after Week 8. So very interesting time. We'll see how those standings look after next week, which that's all that matters after next week, how the district standings look. But certainly interesting. Looking forward to next week where those district standings stand right now, heading into week number 9, which is the final week of the season. And we're going to take a break and be back with some football state rankings for the state of Missouri. We've got some local teams in there. Take a look at that. Take a look at those coming up.
A Glenn Saint story. A few years ago, a good friend of ours ran for a state legislative office. The night of the election, Gail and I had some friends and family over. Our friend won. His young son looked at him and said, "Dad, since you won, does that mean you can make duck season longer?" That's a good story. Best price, best service. Glenn Saint, God bless our troops.
For the best service in air conditioning, it's AirTech Heating and Air in Dexter. They service both commercial and residential customers and provide additional services including plumbing, electrical, and appliance repair. AirTech is a Carrier factory authorized dealer, and currently Carrier is offering cool cash rebates, providing you extra savings towards a new AC unit. Served the area as a family business since 1960, now led by NATE certified Jason Johnson. He holds the highest certification in the heating, cooling, and refrigeration industry. Call today to get the expert service of AirTech in Dexter.
At Ag Explore, we're farmers too. So we know that farming's never been a 9-to-5 job. Just like the farmer, we work overtime to bring you whatever it takes. Solutions like InZone help you retain 47% more nitrogen, with an overall average increase of 12 bushels per acre. Imagine what InZone can do for you. Ag Explore.
And welcome back, and let's take a look at some state rankings for the state of Missouri. After last week, these do not reflect last night's game, so it's coming into this last week. Hayti moving up to number 1 in the state in Class 1. I think they were at 3 last week, moving up to number 1. Well-deserved. I think they are the best team. I can't tell you anything about any one of those other teams with the exception of Valley down the way there, but the way Hayti looks, the way they've been rolling through opponents, I'd say they're looking like the best team in the state in Class 1 and got a definitely good shot at winning a state championship this year. We'll see what happens, but Hayti on top at 7-0 in the state rankings. Western at number 2, 3 Fayette, 4 East Buchanan, 5 Marceline, 6 Pierce City, 7 Lincoln, 8 Valley Catholic, 9 Cass Midway, and 10 Milan. And take a look at Class 2, Lamar with the longest winning streak in the country. Going on about 7 years now. There's 6 straight state championships, working on a 7th for this year. They're undefeated at 7-0. 2 Blair Oaks, 3 Lathrop, 4 Lutheran North, 5 Lawson, 6 Clark County, 7 Monroe City, 8 Macon, 9 Palmyra, and 10 Ava. In Class 3, Odessa number 1, 2 Trinity Catholic, 3 Cardinal Ritter, 4 Maryville, 5 Cassville, 6 Mount Vernon, 7 St. Clair, 8 Springfield Catholic, 9 Southern Boone, and 10 Reed Spring. Rounding out the top 10, and figured Kennett might slip into those rankings here towards the end of the year, as they've had a great run this year. Only 1 loss on the year. I thought they would have a chance of sneaking into that number 10 or 9 hole there for Class 3, but still another week. We'll see if they can sneak into that top 10 for the last poll heading into district play, but certainly a capable team out of Kennett, and might see them in that top 10 by the final rankings by the end of the year. And in Class 4, Webb City on top at number 1, the defending state champions in Class 4. 2 Ladue, 3 Kearney, 4 West Plains, 5 Platte County, 6 Country Day, 7 Camden, 8 Smithville, 9 Excelsior Springs, and 10 St. Francis Borgia. And in Class 5, Staley at number 1, 2 Fulton Zumwalt North, 3 North Kansas City, 4 Vianney, 5 Carthage, 6 the Jackson Indians, undefeated at 7-0 coming into this year, or this week, and 8-0 after last night, number 6 in the poll. 7 Dayton, 8 Battle out of Columbia, 9 Fox, and 10 Lebanon. And those are your rankings for Class 5. So we're seeing some of our local teams. Hayti there in Class 1. I figured Kennett might have a shot to get that Class 3, unable to do so yet, but Jackson there in Class 5 looking really good. So starting to see some of our teams well represented in those polls here in Southeast Missouri. And let's go ahead and wrap up for the show today. Let's talk about our broadcast schedule going forward. Next week, we've got Hayti at Portageville. Hayti at Portageville we're going to bring to you. And we'll also bring, it looks like, Sykeston at Kennett. We had a little miscommunication in the schedule earlier on the year. Sykeston at Kennett, we will attempt to bring that to you unless some things happen. We've kind of had to just throw it in the schedule. So Hayti at Portageville, you can watch that on YHCTV.com. Hayti, top-ranked team in the state. We'll bring them to you right here on YHC down at Vic Reeves Athletic Field. And Portageville, Friday night at 7 o'clock. And that will be available on YHCTV.com. And also we'll have the Sykeston and Kennett games. Sykeston at Kennett to wrap up the regular season. Should be a good one there between Sykeston and Kennett right here on Channel 21 at YHCTV.com next Friday night. Then the next week on the 26th, we got a big 3A3 matchup between Newport and Piggott down at Parker Field. We will bring that here to you here on Channel 21, also at YHCTV.com and Facebook Live from Newport, or from Piggott, between Newport and Piggott on the 26th. Then the next week, Thursday night, we'll have Corning at Piggott. The Rice Bowl, will bring it to you live from Piggott, and that'll also be here on Channel 21, YHCTV.com, and Facebook Live there on November 1st, Thursday night. So look forward to those remaining games that we're going to bring to you right here on YHC. And just give you a little preview of some high school football coming up, or college football this weekend. The Missouri Tigers have the toughest match in the country today, taking on top-ranked Alabama in Tuscaloosa. And boy, this Alabama team, I think it's the best college team I've ever seen. But man, I mean, Alabama, you can always depend on a top 5 or even top 3 defense in the country. Now they got a top overall offense to go along with it. Just unbelievable. There in Tuscaloosa as Missouri Tigers going to have a tough test against those Crimson Tide later on today. Ole Miss is at Arkansas, and that's at War Memorial Stadium down in Little Rock. So a big matchup for the Arkansas Razorbacks. It would be a big win over Ole Miss if they could pull that off today. Minnesota at 3rd-ranked Ohio State. 14th-ranked Florida at Vanderbilt. It's got a tough one for Florida. Vanderbilt's always one of those teams that can sneak up on you and get a upset victory. Big SEC matchup there. Tennessee at 21st-ranked Auburn. 2nd-ranked Georgia at 13th-ranked LSU. Big matchup there in the SEC. 7th-ranked Washington at 17th-ranked Oregon in the Pac-12. 15th Wisconsin at 12th-ranked Michigan. One of the biggest games of the day here in college football in the Big Ten. Big matchup there, Wisconsin at Michigan. 19th ranked Colorado at USC. Could be a tough one there for Colorado against USC in the Pac-12. And our local teams, Austin Peay's at SEMO later on this afternoon. SEMO going to, I think, 3-3 on the year with a Tennessee Tech victory last week. And homecoming for the SEMO Redhawks today, taking on Austin Peay in the Ohio Valley Conference. And Arkansas State had a game earlier this week, Tuesday night on ESPN2, and they suffered a home loss to Appalachian State. Very good Appalachian State team in the Sun Belt Conference. And Arkansas State doesn't play this weekend. They will play on the 18th. They will play on the 18th during the week next week, it looks like, and they will be hosting Georgia State, also in the Sun Belt Conference. So that's what Arkansas State's got ahead of them. And take a look at some NFL football for the weekend. The Buccaneers at the Falcons in the NFC South. The Steelers at the Bengals, big AFC North matchup there. Chargers at the Browns. The Browns have got 2 victories. Baker Mayfield coming in and putting up some good performances, and they'll host the Chargers. Actually, the Browns are like a 1.5 favorite, something like that. Taking on, I think, a 3-2 Chargers team. So interesting matchup there, the Browns and the Chargers with Baker Mayfield. It's a whole different game there in Cleveland now for the Browns. The Raiders hosting the Seahawks. The Bears at the Dolphins. And Bears one of those teams that really impressed this year so far. The NFC North. That defense is really good. Headed by Khalil Mack. So the Bears, look out for the Bears this year. They've made some, they've put together a pretty good season so far this year. Cardinals at the Vikings. Tough test for the Cardinals. They finally got their first victory of the year last week against the 49ers. Got a tough road test for the Cardinals. And rookie quarterback Josh Rosen taking on the Vikings in Minnesota. The Colts at the Jets in the AFC. The Panthers at the Redskins in the NFC. The Bills at the Texans in the AFC. The Rams at the Broncos. The Rams, probably the best team in the NFL right now, looking really good. And on the road against the Broncos later on Sunday. And the Jaguars at the Cowboys. The Cowboys having a little rough early stretch, and Jaguars coming off a loss to the Chiefs last week. And also we've got Sunday Night Football, the Chiefs at the Patriots. Big game, 5-0 Chiefs taking on the 3-2 Patriots. And I would say a must win for the Patriots if they look to have home field advantage throughout the AFC playoffs, where the Chiefs are undefeated at 5-0, and if the Patriots suffer a loss, they'll go to 3-3. And the Chiefs would have that head-to-head win, tiebreaker, if they were to have the same record coming into the end of the year. So, the Patriots, if the Patriots look to have home field advantage, as they typically have in the AFC, they need that win Sunday night against the Chiefs, as they'll host them in Gillette Stadium in Foxborough. But and on the other hand, if the Chiefs win over the Patriots, they'll have a inside track to that top overall and home field advantage throughout the AFC playoffs, as they got a head-to-head victory over the Jaguars last week. So the Jaguars will have, I think they've got 2 losses on their schedule already. So they would have a 2-game cushion on them plus the tiebreaker. So it looks good for the Chiefs if they can get a victory over the Patriots. Sunday Night Football on NBC on the road in Foxborough. So, Patrick Mahomes, probably the leading candidate for MVP at this point. First-year starter in his second year. He's had a great season so far. I think he's up to 14 touchdowns or 15 touchdowns, and actually had 2 interceptions last week. His first interceptions of the year. So we'll see what happens there. So we already had Thursday Night Football the other night. Eagles over the Giants in the NFC East, and the defending world champion getting a victory over the Giants there Thursday night. So there you go. And that's pretty much going to do it for our show for today. Had a lot to bring to you as we're coming down to the end of the season, all the fall sports, and a lot going on. So quite a packed show for you for today. As we're going to wrap it up for today, and we appreciate you for tuning in as always for the Sports Roundtable Saturday mornings, and watch the replays as well here on YHC. And we'll see you next week for another Roundtable. And until then, have a great week. Take care, everyone.